Front Row decides Todd Gillen will not be full-time this year. Instead, Zane Smith will get select Cup Series starts, and Justin Marks, owner of Trackhouse, shoots down any potential Toyota rumors. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Long time no see. Apologies for the recent inactivity. I was enjoying the final few days of the off-season, visiting some family in Los Angeles. But now we're back, and there's lots to get to. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. The NASCAR season is here. First up, later in this episode, I'll be bringing in Mike from Mike's Weather Page, sponsoring Bailey Currie's number 4 Xfinity Series Chevy at Daytona this coming Saturday. You can follow Mike's Weather Page, learn a whole lot more by clicking any of the top links down in the description below, but stay tuned through the end of this episode to hear from Mike himself. Now, there's lots of stories that we've got to catch up on. I've got some thoughts. I've had a long plane ride to digest everything. First up, Conor Daly will attempt to qualify for the Daytona 500. He will be the driver of the number 50 The Money Team racing car. Remember, this team was rumored to be pursuing 4-time Indy 500 champ Helio Castroneves, but a couple weeks ago we learned that that deal wasn't happening. They'd shifted their attention to Conor Daly, and now it's official. Conor Daly, I believe, is the 42nd or 43rd confirmed entry into this year's Daytona 500. He joins a stacked list of open entries, including Jimmy Johnson, Travis Pastrana, who I believe just won a late model race last night. Did I hear that correctly? Austin Hill, Chandler Smith, Zane Smith, who we'll talk about more in a few moments. Throw Conor Daly into the mix. Sounds like the plan is for him to run several NASCAR Cup Series races for the Money Team this season. I like this quote from Floyd Mayweather. "Conor is like a hungry fighter and my kind of guy. I sure wouldn't bet against him." You know, sometimes when sponsors or team owners or celebrities issue a statement, it feels real sterile, like someone probably wrote that up for them. That sounds like it came from Floyd Mayweather, or at least it passed across his desk and he stamped it with his seal of approval. Good luck though to Conor Daly. It's going to be a busy Wednesday and Thursday night down in Daytona Beach. Next up, remember a couple weeks ago, Toyota Racing Development head David Wilson said that Toyota was actively looking to expand their Cup Series lineup. They were talking to existing teams about a potential manufacturer swap. A bunch of fans, including me, threw out names of teams that could consider a switch to Toyota. One up-and-coming, can we say they've already arrived, team that many mentioned was Trackhouse. Trackhouse Racing. Earlier this week on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Trackhouse team owner Justin Marks shot down any Toyota talk.
For Trackhouse, we're not interested. I mean, our relationship with Chevrolet is so important to us. We're key partners of Chevrolet. We've tethered ourselves to the trajectory, to the commitment, to the passion that they've got for this sport. They've obviously made a huge investment with their Tech and Innovation Center in Concord, North Carolina, supporting their key partner teams. We're one of 3 teams there that are the key partners, right alongside RCR and Hendrick, which is an incredibly valuable relationship for us. You know, when I look at a company like Chevrolet, you can just see how important racing is to them. And my first car was a Chevy, so I don't know. I've got a lot of passion for that brand, and
not interested. I don't know, that sounds pretty definitive to me. I never thought Trackhouse was a candidate to switch to Toyota. Trackhouse is tied closely to Chevy. I thought his comments about, Hendrick, RCR, Trackhouse, those are the big 3 under the Chevy umbrella currently. I thought that was interesting. It sounds like Trackhouse and Chevy have a really good partnership going. Last year went super well for Trackhouse. I don't think Trackhouse is looking for a change of scenery. Why would they? They just made the championship 4, got both their drivers into the playoffs and through the first round. Trackhouse is on the up and up, and they've done it using Chevy engines, using Chevy data, Chevy simulations. Why would they change anything? What they're doing right now is working just fine. And Toyota is great. TRD entries are often some of the most competitive, but Chevy, with Hendrick Motorsports, they've won 2 of the last 3 championships. Last season, 2 of the championship 4 were driving Chevrolets, so Chevrolet is pretty stout. If you have their full support, chances are you're going to be competitive. So Trackhouse sticking with Chevy makes a ton of sense. I don't think anyone really thought they were a likely candidate to switch to Toyota. I think if I'm going to look at teams that may consider a Toyota switch, I'd look at those tier 2 or tier 3 teams like David Wilson discussed a couple weeks ago. I immediately turned my attention to JTG Doherty. There's always rumors circulating around that team, and they're a Chevy team who Justin Marks did not mention there as one of the main Chevy teams. They could be looking for a change. That would be my first guess. I don't think a team like Roush, as long as his name is attached to the business, will switch to anything other than Ford. RCR isn't. I don't think Legacy Motor Club would either. A few years ago, when it was still Richard Petty Motorsports and Bubba Wallace was there, I believe there were some rumors that Toyota was considering buying up the team or absorbing them. But I think those days are long gone. Colleague, you never know. JTG Doherty, I think that's the team I'd keep my eye on, but that's purely speculation on my part. Now, there's one more big story that broke this week I want to discuss before we bring in Mike from Mike's weather page. Front Row Motorsports announced that Todd Gillen will not be full-time this season. They are pulling him out of the 38 car for 5 races and are replacing him with Zane Smith. Zane Smith is expected to make 6 starts this season. He will drive a 3rd front row entry in this year's Daytona 500, the 36 car, but he will make 5 additional starts in the 38, beginning with Phoenix this spring, then Talladega, Sonoma, Texas, and the Charlotte Roval. So 6 starts total, 5 in the 38. Todd Gillen will not be full-time. He released this statement: "As you guys have heard, I won't be full-time in the 38 this year. It was a shock when they told me, and I'm disappointed. We're working really hard to still be behind the wheel for the races I will be missing and plan on putting our best foot forward all season." A surprising turn of events, and the timing is what's most shocking. We already ran the Clash. The regular season is less than 2 weeks away, and now they're making this announcement? Feels very last minute. Now, Todd Gillen did say in a later statement that he was informed of this decision several months ago. This is what he said. Quote, "The hardest thing was expecting to be full-time, and it felt like it came out of nowhere. So the timeline was being informed a couple months ago. We knew it was going to be more of a part-time schedule, and from there trying to figure out what races it was going to be that I was missing." So it sounds like Gillen was made aware of this a couple months ago, but still, for the announcement to be made 10 days before the Daytona 500, something like that, very late in the game. Very shocking. Now, Front Row's general manager, Jerry Freeze, went on SiriusXM NASCAR radio to explain why they're swapping out Todd Gillen with Zane Smith for select races.
Didn't have anything to do with Todd or Todd's performance. It was more just in trying to put together the best program for Ambetter and WellCare. They're a really good sponsor to have in our program. Especially with Zane having that desire to run some Cup races next year and just kind of keep him in the Truck Series for another year. It almost felt like he might be stalling his progression. And I think in 2024, I wouldn't be surprised if he feels like he's ready to take it on full time. And it's just a good opportunity to get Zane some of that seat time that he wants to do and be able to measure kind of how he stacks up outside of just the one race that he did last year against the Cup competition.
Some very interesting comments there, especially at the end about how Zane Smith may be ready to go full-time Cup before long. Let's take a step back. Why is this happening? Is it purely based on money? Who's bringing what kind of sponsorship to the table? Is it based on talent? Do they just believe Zane Smith is that much better, more prepared than Todd Gillen? Or is there a third option? Is this a special case because Zane Smith is a highly touted prospect who just won the Truck Series championship and is about to enter his 4th season in that series? 3 truck seasons, 3 championship 4 appearances, 7 wins, just won the championship. Last year had an average finish of 7.7. His only DNF last year was a race he got disqualified from. He actually crossed the line 2nd. Zane Smith has proved the last 3 years, especially last season, that he's ready for something more. He's ready for at least Xfinity, but since Front Row doesn't have an Xfinity team, he's ready for Cup. I believe so. He's ready to start cutting his teeth on the top series. Remember, Front Row reportedly has a long-term contract in place with Zane Smith, but the last year or so, there continue to be rumblings that he could go to maybe a different Ford organization. Stewart-Haas Racing's name pops up constantly. Seeing as 2 of their veteran drivers are likely about to retire, they're going to have seats to fill. Zane Smith is probably high on their list of potential candidates. Can they work with Ford to pry him away from Front Row and put him in the 4 or the 10? So I think more than anything, this is a special case. Front Row knows how valuable Zane Smith is. They have him under contract. They want to get him into the Cup Series. They want to appease him as much as possible. Losing Zane Smith at this stage of his career would be a huge loss. So I do think the fact that it's Zane Smith specifically contributed to this decision. Now, money and sponsorship always plays a huge role in any sort of driver swap or driver decision. I'm sure Todd Gillen did not have 36 races worth of sponsorship. Zane Smith, and you heard Jerry Freese in that comment, immediately began crediting Ambetter, these new sponsors, talking about how great they are. Zane Smith, he's gotten a lot of attention the last couple of years. He might finally be bringing some big money of his own to the table. Front Row, from a business standpoint, likely had to go with the driver who brought sponsorship. I do feel bad for Todd Gillen, though. You can argue he wasn't really ready for the Cup Series this last season. He'd never run Xfinity. He only had 2 career truck wins, despite racing almost 4 full-time seasons in that series before last year. So I do think it's completely fair to argue that Todd Gillen was not ready for a Cup Series ride going into last season. But I think his performance last year exceeded expectations, at least slightly. Sure, he finished 28th in points, but that's about where that car's always finished. I mean, John Hunter Nemechek was 27th in points, but Anthony Alfredo and David Reagan finished 30th in points in recent years. So Gillen being 28th is par for the course. He had a couple of top 10s. He actually got the 38 car its first top 5 finish since David Gillen, nearly 10 years ago at Talladega. So I hate to see Todd Gillen not get a second full-time season in the 38. He's still going to make 31 starts. That's basically the full schedule. He'll still get plenty of seat time and plenty of experience this season, but it stinks knowing you're not full-time as of now. He is working with Front Row and with other Ford teams to potentially piece together those other 5 races, but it is disappointing. I do feel bad for Todd Gillen because I don't think he did anything in that car last year to justify losing his full-time status. I think he earned a second full-time season in that car. But this business is cutthroat. There are only so many seats at the table. In the case of Front Row, they only got 2 charters, so you got to be selective. And I guess the hard truth is, if I was a team owner, I'd rather have Zane Smith than Todd Gillen, at least long term. Todd Gillen is a fine driver, I think more than capable of racing in the Cup Series for a long, long time, but Zane Smith right now has the higher ceiling. I'll rattle off his accomplishments again. 3 straight championship 4 appearances in trucks. Just got a championship for the first time. He's won 7 races. I'm sorry, but his numbers in trucks and competitive equipment far outpace what Todd Gillen was able to do in trucks. And I know this year Todd Gillen made a one-off truck start and did win, which is why I'm saying he's a good driver. I hate to see him lose this full-time status, but if I'm a team owner today, I'd take Zane Smith over Todd Gillen, and it wouldn't be that hard of a decision. And I think Front Row sees that. They know that they have a potentially hot commodity under their control for at least the time being, and they want to make him happy. They want to give him opportunities, get him that seat time, especially if he has sponsors supporting him. That makes that decision even easier. They want Zane Smith to know he is a part of their long-term plans. And depending on what his contract looks like, maybe Zane Smith will be in a Front Row car for several more years. Maybe he'll end up in a different Ford car for a different team. It's clear to me, though, that Front Row really wants to make him happy. They want to get him those opportunities. They want to get his sponsors, that exposure. I think this is a Zane Smith deal. I don't think it's anything Todd Gillen did wrong. I don't even think it's just that Zane Smith is bringing a sponsor. I think it's that it's Zane Smith, a guy who many in the industry believe could be a future Cup Series star. Could. I don't think he's like a bona fide guarantee, but I think many would agree his ceiling right now is higher than Todd Gillen's. And a team like Front Row Motorsports, who seems to be just stuck mid-pack towards the back of the pack, just kind of mediocre year after year, they need to take a huge gamble. They have a potential star. They need to get him that seat time, and maybe he can drag this team into contention consistently. So I hate it for Todd Gillen, but I'm equally excited to see Zane Smith get some legitimate Cup Series seat time. Now I want to bring in Mike from Mike's Weather page. You might have seen him on social media. He has thousands and thousands and thousands of followers across TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. He's also sponsoring Bailey Curry, my boy, at Daytona next week. Let's bring him in now to talk about this exciting new partnership. I am now joined by Mike Boylan, the founder of Mike's Weather page, as well as Jason Sutton, the director of brand development from Furman Power Equipment. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. Mike, you've been named the one-stop shop for tropics. So what initially piqued your interest in the weather and tracking storms and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I'm a native Floridian, so hurricanes are our life here, you know. Um, but in 2004, we had four storms that year. Charlie was coming towards Tampa, and there was no information on the internet. I was frustrated trying to find models and maps and graphs. So I threw together a website. I was learning HTML in college, and I was like, I'm gonna make me a site. I called it Mike's Weather Page. I shared it with friends and family, and here it is, 20 years later.
Wow. Wait, so it started as just like for a close knit group, and it grew to the size it is now. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't intend it to ever become what it is. But yeah, it basically was just supposed to be a place to go get graphics, and now, like this last year, seeing Turks and Caicos government using it and sharing it for their, seeing FEMA use it, seeing a lot of big dogs using it. It makes me feel good, that I can at least provide something that people go to for information.
That's incredible. And I know, beyond just being a fan of the weather, I guess you're also a lifelong NASCAR fan. How did you get into racing? What first got you interested?
Well, my folks went to Daytona in the 50s. I mean, they've lived in Daytona Beach, so they grew up with racing. I grew up watching Richard Petty and Earnhardt, and they drugged me to the 600 back in the 80s. And me and my wife, before we were married, went to Dega in 2000, saw Earnhardt's last win.
Wow.
Now we camp at every speedway. My daughter's 17. We've been to all 17 Talladegas since she's been born. So I just love it. I raced radio control cars growing up, and met some NASCAR connections there. I became friends with Tony Stewart. He owns an RC car company called Custom Works. He still races RC cars. So this NASCAR connection, RC car connection, it's just been awesome. I just love it. I love the people in NASCAR, and it's really piece of me.
That's crazy. And to think now you're sponsoring a race car that's going to compete at Daytona. I mean, how crazy is that? That's got to be pretty cool. Even when you're wearing the crew shirt already, you're ready to go.
I slept with it last night, man. I never dreamed, Jason's here with us, and Furman. We all have the same goal. I mean, we provide a lot of services leading up to a storm, and a lot of the supporters on our car provide service after the storm. And it's really nice because a lot of my fans are Floridians, and they rely on me for information, and it means a lot to come to the event, and meet them and know that, hey, I got your back. We all got your back, and going forward into the 2023 season. It's just kind of nice to show that, hey, we're here supporting, and we're always going to be here for you, before the storm and after the storm.
Absolutely. And Jason, I mean, Mike just mentioned it. Your company is very much involved in this whole deal as well. So how important is it for Furman power equipment to be marketing to NASCAR fans, to Floridians in this case?
Yeah, it's funny. We got to know Mike because he was our trusted source of information for when the storms are coming. I mean, as a portable generator company, that's really important to us. We want to be able to react and get portable generators out to our retail partners in areas that are affected. So we're getting as many generators into the hands of people that really need them when these things happen. Lowe's is one of our big partners, and we'll ship truckloads of generators to every single store where people are buying them out of the back of the trucks. It's really that critical. So we were watching Mike to learn about what was accurate information about what was happening with the weather, and that partnership grew out of that. But yeah, I mean, the NASCAR fans, I'm my own demographic. I'm a car guy, and the NASCAR fans are definitely our demographic. They're people that are not afraid to get their hands dirty. They're do-it-yourselfers, and we love racing. We're really excited to get to partner with Mike and sponsor this car this year.
Yeah, and it is a good-looking race car that we're going to see at Daytona here in just a few days. Let me ask you first, Mike. Can you tell us a little bit more about the paint scheme? And while we're on that subject, how are you hoping to improve hurricane awareness and preparation by showing off this scheme this weekend?
Yeah, the scheme was Greg Vincent is our middleman with JD Motorsports, and they whipped it together, man. And I'm usually like that guy that sends my graphic artist a bazillion emails. No, change this, change that, change it. It hit like right away. It was like, that's it. I loved it, with the hurricane and the way that the 4 is, and the way the logos were placed. So I'm really happy about that. The Twitter, when they made the announcement, oh my gosh, the Jayski shared it and some other sites. and people love it. That I can't believe the amount of comments people are like, this is a badass car, and so it's a home run. But as far as the awareness goes, Florida Division of Emergency Management is coming down to support it from Tallahassee, and they're stoked. They want their sticker on the car, so we're going to have a sticker on the car with the state, local county, Volusia County EOCs, really stoked from Daytona Beach. They're coming, so we're going to have a tent. We're going to have a meet and greet on Saturday. I think it's 1:30 to 3:30 at the Sunoco station across the street. You can come by, get a free koozie and sticker, and the state's going to be handing out a bunch of preparedness information. Paraphernalia, giveaways, weather radios. So the whole concept of this thing is these partners we have in our car. Furman, obviously, is the largest one. We also have OSR power company out of Iowa. We love them to death. They're the first responders doing electrical work, and then Victory Powerline Services, and then local company Coastal Claims. They're our big four that made this happen. But to have people to go to after a storm if they need be, and trust obviously Mike's weather page as a source to get your information. We have a following that's grown to like 2 million between all social media. And I do this daily brew morning show, and I'll share my dogs, and I'll share drinking stories and campfire, and we've become like a family. I mean, it's really weird. I love social media, and I love the bonding that we've done. But on the serious side, people do come to the site to get information, and that's number one priority, obviously, and just letting people know, hey, I got your back. We all have your back. As we get into the next season, hey, maybe they'll turn to us and get good information when they need it.
I may not be a Floridian. I'm from Houston, Texas, so I've had more than my fair share of experience with hurricanes. So I really value what both of you bring to the table, both your companies and the information and resources you guys provide. So this is a really cool. I was stoked to see this paint scheme. I'm really excited you guys were able to be on the show this week. Mike Boylan and Jason Sutton, gentlemen, thank you both so much for being on the show this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Eric.
I would say hurricanes rotate winds counterclockwise. And that's how we race NASCAR. So it's only fitting that we go full circle, and we're at a NASCAR race.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Mike, but I know Florida weather's finicky. What do you know what the weather's going to look like this weekend?
Yeah, I was looking. There's a real serious storm system developing next week, upper Gulf. It's not going to reach Florida, but it's going to be a lingering front line probably Friday. Perfect. It looks like there's probably going to be one of them classic front. We're going to get a front. I mean, you can't get away from
NASCAR's in town. That's what happens.
I know. Of course. So it looks like we could have some rain Friday. The Euro's shoving it south. So fingers across, Saturday, Sunday are great. We could always get them lingering showers off the Atlantic, which seem like always happens during the 500. I hate it. But so far, I'm feeling pretty good,
NASCAR fans know how to persevere. I always call them the hardest working fans in professional sports. No rain is too much to scare fans away. But gentlemen, again, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being on the show. We'll see you out at Daytona in about a week.
Thank you, guys.
Look forward to it.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button for all things NASCAR. And as always, a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for your continued and very generous support. I'll have a lot of announcements over the next few days. We've also got the first episode of Power Hour, presented by Circle B Diecast, a new podcast featuring myself and NASCAR driver Brennan Poole. We've got our first guest lined up for Tuesday, February 14th. Hope you guys will give it a watch or give it a listen wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, lots of exciting announcements and new things to come here in 2023 now that the season is right around the corner. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see you in the next episode.